Hi, everybody. I'm Bud Gibson. I'm the director of the Center for Digital Engagement and also the Digital Summer Clinic. We're here to talk to you about the Digital Summer Clinic, which is going into its ninth year this year. We started all the way back in 2015. We'll talk more. I'll introduce everybody really briefly here, and then they'll get fuller introductions as we get into the webinar. So I'll start off. First person on the screen, left to right, is Grant Bradley, who was an intern in the clinic last year, and we'll be talking about his experience there shortly. He's currently our showrunner here for this webinar. Then, of course, there's me. Then we have Kim Barker. Kim is a professor in the management department at EMU. Prolific book author, just revealed that she's going to have her second book coming out this summer. She'll get a chance to talk about that in a minute. And then a person who many of you may already know, Sheena Monin, who is the co-founder and VP of marketing at Passive Bolt, also accomplished in several domains. And I'll let Sheena speak to that. And then we have Sufyan Krunfla. People call him Dr. Q. And Sufyan is actually the interim department head in marketing at Eastern Michigan University and a supply chain management professor. And then last but not least, we have Kim Brown, senior director of marketing at Blumira. And Blumira is a online security. I'll let Kim speak to that more clearly when she gets to her point, but formerly of Duo Security, and then also was a mentor in our digital summer clinic up until a couple of years ago, actually. And so we're happy to have her back again, this time in what is likely to be a participating company role this summer. So I'm going to fire up our webinar slides. So firing up the web. There we go. And the question was, could I control them? Oh, I can. Okay, good. All right. So we're going to quickly jump. I could do but in the pre-show, but things are a little different here during the show. So we're going to hop over. For those of you who are saying, I don't want to have to sit through a 20 or 30-minute webinar to figure out what I need to do to participate in this. I'm watching it on YouTube after the fact. Here it is. Want to participate. Step number one is an interview. We have, and it's a half an hour, and we do it online. You can go sign up for an interview at the link you see on the screen, bit.ly/capital D, capital S, capital C dash capital I interviews. Okay. And they're available April 20, 21st, 27th, and 28th, basically in a week. So a week from today, a week from this Friday, and then 2 weeks from today, and 2 weeks from this Friday. And that's really a part where we talk with you about your business, understand your business, try and come to an idea of whether we can put together a project for your business that will make sense with you using the kinds of interns we recruit. Okay, so that's really just sort of evaluating fit on both sides, but really with the idea, can we help you? And then presuming that that's successful, then you submit a 2-paragraph to 1-page project proposal. We have a link here with details of this whole process. It's not meant to be onerous. It maybe takes an hour in total with the half-hour interview. And that's at bit.ly CDE-company. And you can go see that. It's about a 2.5-page sheet of paper. If you have any questions, feel free to just fire a little email over to me, fgibson@emish.edu. I'm generally pretty prompt. Of course, we are at the end of the semester over here at Eastern, so it may be delayed by a day or so, but never more than that. Okay, so that's the quick and dirty. We got that in just about 5 minutes. So on to the rest of it. Okay. So our goal is to have a coherent information session where people can still interact. You're going to have to interact through comments. If you're joining us here on our StreamYard link, then just fire in little comments over there in the comments area. If you happen to be joining in on YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook, then comments submitted there. As long as you're doing it during our live period, will also come in here and we'll be able to answer them. Okay, so now, first thing we're going to talk about is what is the clinic? What is this thing? In case you're unfamiliar, want more details, or were in it before and are kind of wondering what it's all about. Again, sort of need a refresher. Going to introduce you to the mentoring team. We have a number of them here today, but not everybody. And we have a mentoring team of 6 people, I think, including myself. Then we're going to speak to the clinic experience with some previous participants, in particular Kim Brown, and then Sheena, who I just introduced. And then we'll depart with some final words. Okay, so again, our info sheet for companies gives you everything you need to know. If you want to see the student website where we do all the recruiting, and by the way, we're running applications for the interns through the end of April. We have 312 applications so far. The usual rule of thumb, this may not hold, but usual rule of thumb is we get triple the number of applications we have at the end of March by the end of April. We had 200 at the end of March. 600 would be a significant record for us if we got to that level. I suspect not. So then all of the key links are repeated here. I got my start in all of this watching late night TV and then trying to emulate it. So you can think of this as being, in some sense, like an infomercial. So, what is the clinic? Okay. The clinic is a 9-week, 90-hour mentored internship. So, if you do the math, that's roughly 10 hours a week. You don't have to do it in exactly 10 every week, but around that is probably what makes sense. Note, of course, obviously from that this is part-time. Now, each company we work with, we give them 2 interns. So you actually get 20 hours of intern time per week paid for by Ann Arbor Spark. If you want to go beyond that, by another grant or by your own internal funds, you can do so. Okay, but this is sort of the base offered by the clinic. Okay, interns work on a project developed by the company as part of the company application process. So we want to make sure that, we're giving you people you can use. And so that's part of what the interview is there all about is kind of understand your company, talk a little bit about the types of projects we can do. By the end of the interview, we have typically sketched out a potential project plan. And then that gives everybody a point of departure. We're not going to hold you to this and say, hold on, you sent in this, back in April and we're in July. You sent in this project description and you're deviating from it. No. We just find it's better if we get everybody kind of at a good starting point. Then they can move on. And even if things change a bit, we are still kind of in a good place for making this work for everybody involved. Okay. Now the interns we have them in 2 cohorts. So this is a guided internship. It's a mentored internship is probably the better way to put it. So we actually have meetings with the interns outside of their internship with you. So during their cohort meetings, The interns actually give us a weekly project report. You can think of that if you're familiar with agile project management. It's vaguely like a stand-up meeting or a scrum meeting where everybody gets up, talks about what they're doing. It's a little more involved than the standard scrum meeting because we go into a little bit of coaching while we do it. But the idea is we're tuned in to where they are, where they may be getting some challenges, what are resources that can help them. And then we have an all hands meeting, and that is really uh, meant. It's meant as a social gathering. It's meant as a gathering where we have outside speakers come in, and sometimes those outside speakers are company executives, but they can also be people from the community and talking on various topics, like what it is to start a company. Okay. And then, people who may be from the marketing realm or people who may be developers and talking about their career journeys. Okay. Okay. As far as you, the company, are concerned, you can choose to be fully in person with your interns, and we'll ask that as we get into the interview, what it is you're looking to do. Fully remote, and we've had a number of those, obviously, since the pandemic, and we've done a number of fully remote internships, or hybrid, come in some, work away some. And that's actually where we're gonna be in the clinic. We find for us that that works best. So the cohort meetings that I mentioned earlier, those are all gonna be online. That is really a very efficient means of providing that mentoring. But the all hands meetings, where you have a little bit of extra time, you form some relationships, those are going to be in person. Okay. So that's the clinic in a nutshell. Now we'll move on. So in getting all of this up and running, I mentioned we had 312 applications right at the start. Well, we have a field team, and these are either former or future interns. So Grant, who's with us today and is going to speak on in just a minute about what his internship experience was an intern last summer and is preparing to graduate at the end of this month.
Super excited.
Yep. And then we have Shelby Kyle, who is not with us today, but is a communications major, also going to graduate this month. And then we have Liz Lohman, current marketing student. Uh, she's going to be in the internship this summer and expected 2024 grad. And then we have Morgan Roselle in digital media production and has actually participated quite a bit in putting on events like the event we're putting on today. Also an expected 2024 grad who will be in the clinic this summer. So, Grant, why don't you were an intern. Why don't you give us a quick overview of your internship experience and what you think you got out of it?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, bud. So for me, when I applied, with anything in life, you're a little, scared, hesitant, or you don't really have confidence in a lot of things. And that was sort of one of the biggest things for me that I got out of the internship. Just when I went into the clinic initially, being, a new person in the industry and working, uh, I really didn't know what to expect. So I worked with a company, and at the beginning of the internship, I was sort of given a gigantic task of redesigning and rebranding their entire website. Well, being a marketing person myself and my partner who I worked with, who was a marketing person, we were both sort of, it was daunting at first. But with the help of the mentors and the meetings and just sort of talking with the CEO and the president of the company, we saw that idea come through and created a slide deck, pitched it to the CEO and president, and started just working our hand at it. And now I can say not only do I have marketing experience, but I have website designing experience, which is something I never thought I would have. And I'd say that would be one thing if you're looking into the clinic. Just because your major says one thing doesn't mean that you're going to learn other skills from other things. So me and the partner that I work with, we feel like we wore a lot of different hats in just the industry itself.
Well, thanks, Grant. And I think we're going to hear your multidisciplinary experience echoed when we get on to talking to Kim and Sheena, because neither one of those was actually a marketing major. And well, Kim, you might have been, but there was a period where no, she was not. Okay. I remember this story from years ago now. But at any rate, and so they dive in and they get things done. And we hire people who we don't throw people in who have no idea what they're doing. We throw people in who we think can meet the challenge. Okay, and so Grant had actually had quite a bit of graphic and design work in his background. And then the partner we put with him also had some experience there, and they did need to learn some things on the job, but we were confident that they would be able to meet this challenge. Okay, so that's an intern. And, I think the key thing, and you can see really from Grant's experience there, is can we come up with a concrete set of projects where the clinic interns can provide value to your company? Okay, so the key thing with Grant is he kind of knew what it was he needed to do, what the end goal was. And then he needed to figure out what tools to pull in to get it done, all of which were within his reach. So we're really at the concrete stage versus the ideation, trying to think of what this thing is even going to be stage. And that's where we think the people that we recruit can really help you out the most. Okay, so Grant mentioned the mentors. I guess we only have 5 mentors. I was doing mentor inflation when I said we had 6. But I'm obviously a mentor. Then we have 2 executives in residence. We have Jarrell McCree, who is a senior partner relationship manager at Pinterest. So you might think of Pinterest as a West Coast company, but they've actually grown quite a presence here in Detroit, working with the auto industry. And Jarrell is kind of tasked with keeping those high level management relationships going between Pinterest and his auto clients, and basically keeping his team operating. Former student of mine from uh, somewhere right around 2010. Okay, so don't I can't remember the exact year, but it was right around 2010. Ian Shirk is currently, previously of Career Now Brands, where he was VP of Product Development. And he's now Director of Growth for a company called Ada.com, which is based in Germany and in the healthcare space. And will this is a recent change. So that's about all I can say about Ada. But Ian is Mr. Numbers. Okay, so he very strong on the analytical side. Jarrell does a lot of managing of creatives. Jarrell's also strong on the analytics side, but Jarrell does a lot of managing of creatives and putting together projects, whereas Ian is coming up with ways to hack company growth and really deep in the metrics. And again, another former student, and was actually my first person who occupied the role that Grant currently occupies. So he was the original. And then obviously we have Kim. And so, Kim, now I'm going to let Kim Barker, not Kim Brown. Kim, I'm going to let you speak to your experience a little bit. I kind of sold you some, but sell yourself some more.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kim Barker, and I have a lot of scholar practitioner experience. I've been teaching at the university level since 2010, but I also have 5 years of HR experience and over 15 years in operations and support services at Michigan Medicine. I also have my PhD in organization development, And for some reason, I like writing books. I don't know. So I had a book come out about a year and a half ago. You can create positive change at work. I always seem to have one handy. And I published this with my co-author, and it's how anybody can have a positive impact at work, no matter what their position. And then my new book that's going to be coming out as an ebook this summer is called Culture, Change, and Leadership, Cases of Professional Dilemmas Across Cultures. So how can we take sometimes messy problems and have them become as much of a win situation as possible? So my research interests include helping people live their best life at work, global organization development, cultural competence, dilemma reconciliation, gender equality in organizations, and servant, humble, lean, compassionate leadership. Leadership is something that's very near and dear to my heart. Why am I excited about this program? Because I really want to assist students in adding value to their internship experience. I think that this is just really an exciting program, and I want to help them and the companies make the most of this internship experience.
So, as you might see from Kim's brief description of what she does, real force of nature, very happy to have her on the team. And she's already making contributions. Even we talked about doing this back in the fall, and she's been helping us out, helped us get a couple of the field managers that we've got right now, and so already adding value. So, Sufyan, why don't you tell us a little bit about um, yourself and what you're interested in doing this year?
Sure, thanks, Bud. Hello, everyone. My name is Sufyan Kronfle. I go by the name of Dr. Q. I actually joined Eastern in 2013. I have a PhD in manufacturing management, which is kind of operation supply chain management from the University of Toledo. After graduating, I worked in Scranton, Pennsylvania, taught there for 5 years, I think, and then I joined EMU in 2013. I teach supply chain and operations management, and a production management guy. I joined the clinic actually being part of the mentoring team in 2018. So that's actually my 5th year, believe it or not, as part of the mentoring team. Every year it brings in different challenges. I'm a person guy. I like to communicate with the students, give them my experience into navigate this 9-week program that they might have some challenges, give them tips and experience on how to handle things and things like that. As Bud mentioned earlier, it's a well-structured internship. So we meet with them during the cohorts meeting and hands-on experience meeting. So we'll be there to talk to the students, during the program. What I like most about this is that not only it's well-structured, but you see the transformation of students from the beginning of the internship, and comparing that to the end of the internship. I think Grant touched on the idea of not really feeling they can do it and things like that. But then we got 20 of grants, like at the end of the internship, they feel that they have gained a lot of experience, that they have have gained a lot of knowledge, and are set up to to work in the real world outside the college. So that's why it's excited to meet the students and to work with them. So
Great, great. And so that's the mentoring team in a nutshell. And you got to meet my two fellow academic mentors this time around. And so let's talk about the clinic experience as companies go through it. So we have Sheena, as I mentioned earlier, and we have Kim. And so why don't I let each of you introduce yourselves, talk about your experience in the clinic, what you hope to get out of it. And maybe we'll start with Sheena.
Yeah, definitely. So happy to be back again. I think my first time working with Bud in the Digital Summer Clinic was back in 2019, if I recall correctly. And every single year, the interns have added a tremendous amount of value. As someone who leads our marketing efforts, it's quite in depth, and there are a lot of pieces to it. So I always appreciate the interns that get matched with us, and I'm excited about embarking on that again this year.
Great. And so Kim.
Thanks, Bud. And hi, I'm Kim Brown, as Bud mentioned, and I work for Blumira, which is an Ann Arbor-based company. We make a security tool that's much easier to deploy than the other competitors in the field and is specifically geared towards small and medium-sized businesses, so 100 to 1,000 users. And it somewhat defies categories, but it would most closely fit into a SIEM for anyone out there who's a security geek. And I had my first experiences with the digital marketing classes actually at EMU as a returning student when I realized that some of my background and experience that I was bringing, this is maybe 2010 timeframe, I think, was a little out of date, and I wanted to get up to speed with Google AdWords and analytics and all of the social media marketing. So I took Bud's classes and they were amazing for me. And this kind of predates the clinic, but then I went on to participate in the clinic as a mentor. And you really can't get better interns than this. I'll tell you, it's I'm really excited to be on the side of being a company who is hoping to get some interns for this summer. The fact that they've gone through a pre-vetting is really huge, but also they have so many different people with different backgrounds, as you're seeing, who are mentoring and helping them. And you're going to get the best of the best, really, from these students, and the heart and the drive. And even, you think they're coming in, they may not have a whole lot of practical life experience if they're a really young student. And we do see returning students who maybe had a different career and are using this as a springboard to move into something else. But the fact that there is a defined program, and I encourage you to put as much attention as you can into that program, what you want them to work on, what are some of the metrics and measurements that you'll be looking for as they conclude, or even milestones in the middle, what are your goals there? And also just making sure that you have time to meet with them weekly and give them feedback. One of the things I saw with students was sometimes, because of a little less experience working in a professional environment, they may not want to bug people. They may be a little shy in terms of trying to say, hey, I really do need to meet with you this week, and that kind of a thing. So it's great because Bud has done this so well, and the other mentors have done so well, that you really have a fantastic setup for success.
Yeah, and I'll just throw in a feature of both Kim and Sheena, and a reason we worked with Sheena both in the clinic and then outside in classes, and Sheena and her team at Passive Bolt. So not just Sheena, but the whole Passive Bolt team have been really good, I think, at defining projects where they can get value out of the kinds of people we give them. Okay. And I think the point that Kim was bringing up about you do have to put some time in to get value out is important. So Kim and Sheena, thank you very much. And let's keep on rolling here, because my goal was to make this 30 minutes. We're now at 29 minutes and counting, so I may not make it. But final words on our interns. They're often early in their careers. They're in college or just graduated. Now, I tell people that means that roughly about 80% of them are between the ages of 20 and 25. We don't take younger than 18. We get the occasional 19-year-old. We get people in their 30s, 40s, and even 50s, as Kim mentioned, who are kind of coming back to reinvent themselves. We have a wide range of majors. Now, we often bill this as doing digital marketing. Okay. But digital marketing, that sounds like it's something concrete and well-defined, which is why we use that word, those words. But the truth of the matter is it covers a wide range of things. It covers obviously marketing, but it can cover computer science. If you're building a user experience for somebody coming in off of a marketing campaign, those two just run right together. The marketing campaigns online go into the online user experience that they have when they come to your website or use your product. So each year we get a number of people in the user experience realm, data science realm, communications, writing, digital media, and video arts, and we've worked on all kinds of projects. We've done things like help develop apps, because again, it sort of moves into the marketing arena, and in fact, apps themselves can be used for marketing. So we have a wide range of majors. They typically have applied coursework. They can also have significant prior internships, and sometimes on-the-job experience, and that's often that returning student. That on-the-job experience kind of helps them from a maturity perspective. And we get the largest group is probably some version of business major, just kind of given where we're positioned. They're unsure of themselves. So one thing that you've got to be careful about is, as Kim was bringing up, they don't necessarily want to show that, but it's there lurking underneath the surface. And what we try to do is sort of help them be sure of themselves, but in a productive way, so that they're not avoiding problems, but addressing problems and resolving them. Because it's one thing to hear about a problem before it's really a problem. It's another thing to hear about a problem at the end of the internship and somebody's telling you, well, my deliverable is 6 weeks behind. Okay. So that that is one of the areas we work on, and we kind of recognize that problems can lurk beneath the surface, and we try and work on rooting those out. How to participate as a company. This is basically just a repeat of the slide. I find repeating myself on key information is always important. So there's the links again, interview dates, next Thursday, Friday, the Thursday after, and the Friday after. Any questions, email me. We've got, actually, I was looking over here in the comments, we had a couple of questions pop up. And so we'll start with those, and feel free to add some. This is the advertisement we use with students. This is going particularly well this year. You may have seen it if you get the Ann Arbor Observer. It's right there. We have been advertising in all of the colleges we could find in the state of Michigan, all the way even up into the UP, because there are people, strangely enough, who move from Southeast Michigan to the UP to go to college. Well, we've got them covered. So we're pulling in people from all across Michigan, and even outside of Michigan, if they're like a student who's gone to study at Columbia, which was an intern we had a few years ago, but actually really lives in Ann Arbor with their family. Okay, so we're on to Q&A. And so Grant, we have this question. We have actually two comments from Jeffrey. Jeffrey, I'm sorry if I think maybe your last name is pronounced Jacque. I remember you from last year. And so Grant, why don't you throw that first meaty question up on the screen there?
Sure thing.
Okay. So we had a very productive set of interns last year who helped us design and launch our new website. We are now ready to take a new product to market, Vesta, and we'll have substantial marketing needs that I think will be challenging and engaging for another round of interns. Great. All right. So sort of a success story from the sidelines here. Now, Jeffrey gives us another question right after that. Is it okay to double dip and get a second set of interns? Most definitely. As you heard earlier, Sheena is a repeat customer. Um, and so, Sheena, I'll ask you a quick question here. Um, do you feel that over the years you've worked with us, what what are the tricks you've learned? Okay, because you start off, maybe you're trying the waters the first time, and what are the things that you really learned as you did this to get value out of interns?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think everyone will come into it with a preset idea of this is the bullet pointed list of what I think I want the interns to do week by week. And one way I found to best partner with the interns and to receive value, but also add value back into their lives, is to have a personal conversation early on, like the first week, our intro call that I have with each intern lasts about 15 minutes each person, and discover what they like. So go over the week by week expectations or plan that's laid out, and then receive feedback from them. What are you actually passionate about? Where do you have experience, of course, but what actually would make you feel very excited about working with us? And then I've actually customized the plan based on those conversations and learned over the years to utilize individual strengths. And sometimes there'll be a strong preference and sometimes not. So I just kind of take it the best that I can, depending on how forthcoming they are with me in terms of what they enjoy doing. And I think in the case of last year, Bud, remind me, his name was Riley, I believe.
Yeah.
We ended up, I think, changing his role quite a bit because he had a surprising skill set that we were able to allow him to support some of the software endeavors that we were doing, and also involved in website creation. So again, just having those conversations and understanding where their strengths are and also what they're passionate about.
Yeah, Riley was interesting. His family has a business, and then he had a sales role in that business at one point during summers, and then he went back and got Masters of Science in Information at the School of Information at U of M, and was doing user experience. And I think you had him on a user experience project. And then you had Giselle last year. And Giselle, I was rather amazed. I had her as a student. She was a good, diligent student, but you turned her into a content producer. And she was writing these posts about some fairly technical things, and she would have to go and learn those things and then communicate them in the post, which I think is actually a good move because your products, no matter how complex they are, you're having to put them out in front of people who may not really get that. So you've got to be able to put stuff in terms that intelligent people can get. And I was impressed with actually what you did with Giselle.
Yeah, she did such a great job for us. And again, we had conversations, her and I, when she came into the office in terms of things she had done in the past and things she was interested in doing. So she had a very creative mind as well as a very structured mind. So we were able to utilize that, and hopefully she had a good time as well.
Oh, she did, and she's gone on. She's done well afterwards too. I think she made good use of this experience, and she's working. She's actually about to graduate, but I think she's also been working more or less full time at a marketing place up in Royal Oak, actually at Career Now Brands. So, Grant, we have another question here from David Kloiber. And by the way, I apologize if I mispronounce your name. I'm using my best skills, but it can be hard to know sometimes. Okay, is there a minimum host company size? Okay, so I'm going to actually ask Sufyan. Sufyan, what size range have the companies been that we've worked with in the clinic?
Well, they varied, but I mean, we have a company with, I think, 3 or 4, if I'm not mistaken, and then we have, of course, bigger size. So, I mean, in my opinion, at least you need to have an actual product, as we have talked about, where the interns can work on and have something really that they can build on.
Okay. All right. So we do have it. There is an official answer to that, which is we are looking for one person dedicated full time. Now we have occasionally slipped past that rule, but at least one person dedicated full time. So often when companies are early stage, even when they've got products out with customers, there may be only one person who's dedicated full time, or two people who are dedicated full time, who've decided to, go all in. But we are looking for that dedicated person. And that's in part coming back to the point Sheena was making earlier, which is that, will you have the time to talk to an intern? So if you're working something 9 to 5 and then you're coming back and starting work on your company at 5 p.m., the answer is maybe not. Okay. And so we've had a couple of companies like that we have worked with successfully, but they actually had pretty strong products already in market. And so it was a situation that that everybody could grasp what to do. Okay. But generally speaking, we're looking for that one full-time person. And that's actually a question we ask. Okay. Well, let's see. Are there any other questions? So we're kind of getting down to a going once, going twice scenario here with the questions, folks. Certainly happy to answer more. Let me turn to the panel. Is there anything that you wish I'd said that I didn't say, or that you wish you'd said that we didn't hear?
I would maybe point out, I loved that Kim brought up the compassionate leader and servant leader. And I'd say that really fits the persona that I encountered every year in your program, Bud. I think that really comes from the top. And I think it's awesome because it really does help people to do, Kim, what your book is talking about, which is to, enjoy yourself in your work. And this is a really great time to kind of set the stage and help mold that for people. So it's nice that that's coming right from your leadership, Bud, and also is so well represented in the team here.
Well, thank you, Kim. We always enjoy compliments. Feel free to ask around. Now, you'll be hearing from us in various ways. We're definitely looking to get folks in those interviews. We've had a great prior 8 years working with companies in the clinic. Started off working with 6. Now we work with 24 companies. So there's all sorts of opportunity in there for you. And okay, so my extemporizing there led to a new question. Can you clarify how compensation timesheets and payroll for the interns works? Okay. Well, that's a great question. Okay. And I think, to be honest with you, last year was a year. Okay. I'll tell you what it's supposed to be theoretically, and in fact has worked out in practice. Except for last year where there was changeover in the systems they were using and things got a bit tumultuous. So the interns become effectively employees of Spark. Okay, for this 10 hours a week, they get hired by Spark. They become W-2 employees of Ann Arbor Spark. Okay, they handle this through a payroll system that was new last year. But the idea behind the payroll system is that intern inputs hours and then you approve them. The issue that came into being last year had not been this way in prior years, but came into being last year was with the new system. they had some trouble implementing it, and effectively they just wound up having to ask the interns how much they had worked and then just paying them for that. But the payroll does not come out of your funds for those 10 hours a week. It's basically like a grant from Ann Arbor Spark, and the interns are effectively Spark employees. And you can, if you decide to hire them for extra hours, you can either do that by essentially giving money to Spark to pay them for those extra hours, or hiring them into your own system, depending. I think if you're a smaller 1 or 2 person company, having Spark handle the payroll route is probably the easier option of the two. Okay. Jeffrey, I hope that answers your question. And certainly, oh, okay. Question from David Kloiber. Is the pair of interns working cooperatively on a single project or separate tasks? We've had both. Okay. I think the key thing with the the interns is we do still keep them in a team. Okay. So when they come and present to us, they present in a team. It that just works out. Pairing them really works out well, and I think the cohort mentoring sessions really help too. Help them make sense of what's going on, because when you've got 2 people there, even though they're working on different tasks, they do wind up comparing notes, and it kind of helps them make sense of everything that's going on. But you can go either way. We've had both be successful. We've had people take on an intern who was essentially doing app development work, and then another intern who was doing social media marketing. In fact, the case I'm thinking of, the social media marketing intern is now about to start. I know her personally, as it turns out, is now about to start a master's degree at the School of Information. She dates my younger son's best friend. School of Information master's program in user experience. So the answer, David, I know that was kind of a long answer, but the answer is that either way works, depending on, what you want to do. All right. Well, Jeffrey Jacquet thought we gave a good answer. And I guess what I'm going to do is I'll start making closing remarks. If you manage to jam in a question before the end of those closing remarks, we'll try and answer it. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you in interviews and answering questions as needs be by email. Grant, thanks again for running the show and giving sort of a great summary of your intern experience. Kim, didn't know about the new book coming out. So that was good to hear. Sheena, always a pleasure to have you. We've had a years-long collaboration here, and appreciate it. Sufyan, well, I see Sufyan all the time. So Sufyan, good to see you once again on scene, and looking forward to this coming year. And Kim, we never really fell out of touch, but Kim, in case you don't know, is actually based in Arizona. So she used to be just down the street. But so now our get-togethers have to be a little bit more planned. But it's nice to have you coming back in to the whole process. And so thank you, everybody. And thank you, listeners and folks who may be listening later. And, we look forward to working with you.